In 1995, Dream Theater was facing a new turning point. After the release of their third album, Awake, original keyboardist Kevin Moore departed from the band, and Derek Sherinian was brought in as his replacement, marking a fresh start for the band. What they released next was this distinctive studio EP, A Change of Seasons. Despite having a runtime of over 57 minutes, equivalent to a regular album, in fact, longer than their first two full-length albums, there was a reason this work was categorized as an EP. Through discussions with their label, it was released as a special compilation that would not be considered their latest studio album. Indeed, this work features an unusual structure. It contains the 23-minute title track, A Change of Seasons, as a newly recorded studio track, with the remainder consisting of live covers of past classics. This structure further demonstrates the work's position as a side project within the band's official discography. However, extraordinary ambition was poured into this special compilation. Originally, A Change of Seasons was conceived during the creation of their 1992 masterpiece, Images and Words, as a 20-minute suite with initial plans to include it on a double album, but circumstances forced it to be shelved. Though it was performed once at a 1993 live show, that performance can be heard on an official bootleg, the opportunity for official recording was postponed. The turning point came in 1995 when Derek Sherinian replaced the keyboard position and the band decided to tackle this epic again with their new lineup. Derek himself contributed to reconstructing the intro section, and through reworking by the entire band, the song finally reached its complete form. Ironically, as the title suggests, this work was born during the band's own Change of Seasons. The title suite was recorded at Bear Track Studios in New York State in May 1995, while the cover songs, discussed later, were live recorded at a special fan performance at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London on January 31st of the same year. The band called this legendary gig the Uncovered Show themselves, showcasing classic songs from their musical roots one after another. Completed through this background, this EP became an essential album for fans, condensing Dream Theater's creativity and playful spirit. The title track, A Change of Seasons, spanning over 23 minutes, is a grand suite that parallels the four seasons of life. The lyrics, penned by drummer Mike Portnoy, are based on the personal tragedy of his beloved mother's sudden death in 1984 when he was a teenager, while depicting the universal theme of life and death cycles. From childhood's brilliance through the darkness of loss to the hope of rebirth, life's spring, summer, autumn, and winter are dramatically expressed through sound and words. Portnoy has stated, "This song is about the cycles of life. I incorporated several events into the lyrics, including losing my mother." And indeed, a calendar showing November 16th, the date his mother died, is printed on the back of the album jacket. While starting from personal experience, the emerging transitions of life's seasons possesses universality that resonates with each listener. The song is divided into 7 parts, each with its own subtitle. Let's trace through this structure and story. The Crimson Sunrise, a prologue reminiscent of a quiet dawn, opens the story. The song begins with gentle acoustic guitar arpeggios, accompanied by piano that feels as crisp as pre-dawn air. It's the dawn of childhood. Soon, as if expressing the exhilaration that comes with sunrise, the entire band creates a torrent with their heavy sound. The hope felt at life's beginning and the excitement toward the unknown. The young boy's heart races at this crimson sunrise. This primarily instrumental part eloquently depicts the young protagonist's inner landscape through expressive sound alone. The warm wind blows and the world begins to shine. Those childhood days imagining such scenes, truly the season of innocent hope. Innocence. The second part depicts the young days colored by innocence, as the title suggests. Seamlessly connecting from crimson sunrise, the keyboard plays flowing melodies in 16th notes, while guitar and bass layer comfortable chords. Soon, the guitar plays the theme in unison with the keyboard, and after a brief solo, James LaBrie's vocals quietly enter. The transition from boyhood to youth, sung over gentle acoustic accompaniment in the first verse, a peaceful contentment and euphoria pervades. But eventually, as if the rough waves of the real world begin to show their face, the band starts to sound distorted guitars again. The young protagonist is growing, learning about the world's light and shadow. Still, what runs through this entire part is the fresh brilliance of youth, with somewhat nostalgic colors of reminiscence. Innocence. Precisely because it's destined to be lost, it's beautiful and precious. Carpe Diem. The third part's title, Carpe Diem, is Latin, meaning seize the day or live in the moment. Here, the musical style settles back to acoustic, with quiet guitar arpeggios being gently woven. In this peaceful time, the protagonist is probably contemplating the importance of life. Overlapping this scene, an audio sample from the movie Dead Poets Society is inserted. The famous scene where the teacher, played by Robin Williams, tells his students, "Carpe diem, seize the day, boys, make your lives extraordinary." In that classroom, lines from 17th century poet Robert Herrick's "To the virgins to make much of time" are also recited. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, enjoy your youth while you can. The aesthetic of transience, that life's spring is short and time passes mercilessly. This philosophy, which connects to the song's theme, is dramatically presented through the movie scene. Additionally, dialogue from the movie Table for Five, starring Jon Voight, is said to be quoted here. In a scene where a father tells his children about their mother's death, heart-wrenching words resonate. This precisely evokes the tragedy Portnoy himself experienced as a teenager. An ominous shadow cast into peaceful daily life. The message to cherish this moment was also a harbinger of trials to come. At the section's end, the music gradually becomes heated and uplifting, as if the wheels of fate begin to turn. Tension gradually builds. The darkest of winters. Then comes the dark turn. The fourth part is, as the title indicates, the darkest of winters, the frigid season in the protagonist's life. The irreversible tragedy of his mother's death finally strikes him. Musically, this part becomes the work's second instrumental, depicting the arrival of tragedy with heavy and dramatic development. Writing complex rhythms interpreted as alternating 3/4 and 9/8 time, guitar, bass, and keyboard race in perfect unison, delivering a torrential ensemble. Between these moments, John Myung's bass growls, John Petrucci's guitar roars, and Derek's keyboards unleash solos as if bursting with passion. The loneliness of being left in a frozen wasteland, heart-rending loss, anger and confusion, emotions like winter storms become musical storms that rage wildly. The happy themes built up to this point completely retreat into shadow, and the world turns dark. While overwhelmed by the breathtaking instrumental part, listeners wander through darkness alongside the protagonist. Another world. Having passed through the depths of sorrow, the fifth part, Another World, completely changes tempo and slows down. As if the previous storm was a lie, acoustic guitar arpeggios begin ringing in silence, and solemn pipe organ sounds with sadness. This part progresses mostly with calm musical choices, as if expressing the protagonist's introspection and prayer. Does the title, Another World, suggest the afterlife? Or perhaps the state of mind where reality feels like another world after losing a loved one? The protagonist, consumed by the pain of loss, casts his thoughts toward the distant other world. Where is his mother now? Is he all alone? Amid such struggles and searching, he eventually reaches a resolution. I can't remain imprisoned by sadness anymore. I'll end this life dominated by despair. At this moment when the song's protagonist stands up, the soundscape changes. Electric guitar's distorted chords thunder as if breaking the silence, and the band sound returns powerfully. The will to recover surges through the sound, and the story begins moving toward its climax. The Inevitable Summer. The sixth part, The Inevitable Summer, is the suite's third and final instrumental part. After surviving a long, harsh winter, the seasons inevitably turn, and summer arrives. Light waiting beyond darkness, such a premonition of hope seeps into the title. Musically, too, the opening develops with lyrical and beautiful melodies, conveying the gentleness of warm sunlight streaming in. However, Inevitable Summer isn't always a gentle season. Even when bright days return to life, sometimes echoes of hardship may cast shadows. In the middle section, the musical style shifts dramatically to heavy, with intense riffs striking low strings shaking the air. Here descends Derek Sherinian's passionate keyboard solo. The dazzling speed playing and thrilling phrase exchanges are truly an expression of his exceptional talent and passion. Seeing the new member demonstrate such vivid presence at the core of this epic gives listeners a refreshing feeling. When the solo ends, the musical style regains its gentleness, and several melodies, leitmotifs, that appeared in previous parts are recalled one after another. The guitar also plays a brief solo, and the story that has passed through all seasons is finally bridged toward the finale. The Crimson Sunset. And so begins the moving final chapter, the seventh part, Crimson Sunset. Picture the scene of a red sunset sinking. The story closes with a sunset scene that mirrors the opening sunrise. Seamlessly connecting from the preceding guitar solo, the song maintains its heavy band sound while flowing into the final verse. There, the protagonist speaks of life's enlightenment. After long years, I now understand things even more than before. Having swallowed both sorrow and joy, having layered seasons, there's a view visible only now. Musically, too, tension gradually releases from the previous passionate section, and the climax builds lyrically and melodically. Flowing piano appears prominently as if accompanying James LeBrie's vocals, coloring the moving finale that stimulates tears. And at the song's end, an impressive ending that seems to close the entire circle is prepared. As the grand chord released by the entire band quietly fades, that acoustic guitar theme from the opening quietly returns, while cymbals leave lingering resonance and other instruments gradually fade out. Only the acoustic arpeggio continues to ring quietly. Eventually, the final note disappears, as if dissolving into the evening darkness, and the grand 23-minute musical journey comes to a close. The structure, beginning with dawn and ending with sunset, is life's circle itself. The crimson sunrise and crimson sunset echo each other, and the story where hope and sorrow intersect concludes with great liberation. Despite being such a lengthy composition, the developmental power and structural beauty that maintains tension to the end is admirable. The 7 seamlessly connected parts each have their own expression while organically intertwining to weave one story. Lyrical poetry and transcendently technical performance fuse, completing a grand suite that remains in progressive metal history. This song, filled with Portnoy's personal feelings, shines with particular brilliance among Dream Theater's catalog. As proof, while this was their first composition exceeding 20 minutes, It became the beginning that would generate later long-form works like Metropolis Part 2, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, and Octavarium. This is truly a song where the band's creativity was unleashed to its pinnacle, leaving immeasurable emotion and resonance for listeners. A masterpiece. The EP's second half contains a live recording collection showcasing the band's playful spirit, completely different from the title suite. On January 31st, 1995, lucky audience members gathered at London's venerable jazz club, Ronnie Scott's, were thrilled by Dream Theater's unexpected side. This night was a fan club exclusive special gig, where the band covered numerous classics that influenced them as a tribute to their roots. As the members themselves named it the Uncovered Show, their usually hidden musical backgrounds were uncovered one after another. The EP contains selected highlights from these performances. First comes Elton John's suite, Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. As the solemn synthesizer and piano intro resound, they recreate the original with drama as if it were Dream Theater's own song. The following Deep Purple's Perfect Strangers has Labrie resonating with Ian Gillan-level powerful vocals, bringing audience excitement to its peak. A Led Zeppelin medley also appears mid-set, the thrilling performance cascading from the lyrical The Rover through the progressive epic Achilles' Last Stand to the classic The Song Remains the Same shows Petracci's guitar perfectly copying Jimmy Page's legendary riffs while updating them with modern sharpness. And the masterpiece is the Big Medley, starting with Pink Floyd's In the Flesh and continuing through Kansas' Carry On Wayward Son, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, Journey's Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', Dixie Dregg's Cruise Control, and Genesis' Turn It On Again. 6 distinguished songs connected and rushed through in a spectacular medley. Classic 70s prog and arena rock songs rapidly alternate, each time being cooked Dream Theater style, creating an exhilarating listening experience. Their performances heard here transcend technical copying to become tributes filled with love and respect. From every song, you can feel the members' joy, saying, "We love this music." When a supremely technical group like Dream Theater performs such covers, it might easily be perceived as showing off technique. However, the intent behind this uncovered live performance is far from such shallow motives. They're paying heartfelt tribute to the great music that forms their roots, and above all, enjoying sharing it with fans. The sight of a band at the pinnacle of progressive metal, gleefully covering root classics, there overflows innocent love for music beyond technical display. In that we can sense Dream Theater's humanity, humor, and breadth of musical roots. This live recording collection is extremely interesting. The structure of first overwhelming with the original epic, A Change of Seasons, then following with an enjoyable rock classics feast where you can relax is a stylish surprise unique to this EP. The A Change of Seasons EP holds special significance in Dream Theater's career. First, it was the band's first EP release and their first recording with Derek Sherinian, marking the opening of a new chapter. After the trial of member changes, they demonstrated that their creativity hadn't diminished, but had increased in scale, providing an excellent opportunity to show fans the band's unity and spirit. Through the bold attempt of a 23-minute suite, they proved internally and externally their determination to pursue the music we want to make without compromise. The mid-90s were the height of grunge and alternative booms in the music world, making progressive, long-form orientation perhaps face headwinds. The significance of daring to complete and release this epic work in such circumstances is great. As a challenge to suite form in progressive metal, this work became both a pinnacle and turning point, Indeed, this song considerably influenced subsequent bands and songs in the same genre, and Dream Theater themselves opened the path to tackle even more extended compositions after this work. What's further interesting is that this EP represents a work that balanced both creative and fan service aspects for the band. The suite structure impresses serious music fans, while the cover collection creates accessibility through familiar rock classics. This breadth perfectly represents Dream Theater's duality at the time, namely the fusion of cutting-edge progressive orientation with populist rock love. This duality in their musicality became even more prominent through this EP, ultimately creating groundwork for gaining support from a broader audience. For the band themselves, this work not only filled the charging period toward the next full album, but provided an excellent opportunity to deepen chemistry with their new keyboardist. This EP was the first official release after Derek Sheronin's joining, and he remained until 1999, going through Falling into Infinity. Derek's legacy, especially the keyboard solos and beautiful intro phrases in the title track, remains strongly etched in fans' memories. Overall, the A Change of Seasons EP became an important bridge work for Dream Theater. The band's past and future, shadow and light, technique and emotion, everything is condensed into this single album. The personal yet philosophical message hidden in the 23-minute epic and the love for roots expressed in the second half covers, because of both aspects, this work is valued not as a mere compilation project, but as a work carved with the band's soul. Years after its release, A Change of Seasons continues to shine with special brilliance among fans. This suite depicting life's transitions gives listeners room to overlay their own lives, evoking deep emotion. Dream Theater's presented story of seasonal change will continue to resonate in many people's hearts without fading.
What if a single song could, capture a whole lifetime? Or maybe an album that's so big it doesn't even fit its own label? Today we're diving into a musical journey that kind of does just that. We're talking Dream Theater's amazing 1995 EP, A Change of Seasons, and our mission, really, for this deep dive is to unpack how it even came about, dissect that epic 23-minute title track, and also explore those surprising live covers. They show a completely different side of the band.
Yes, fascinating. This isn't just, about progressive metal. It's really a gold mine of insights. You get these profound human themes, and it captures such a pivotal moment for the band. It really is a testament, I think, to creativity, especially when facing big changes, transitions.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so let's dig into this immediate kind of weird thing. It's called an EP, right? But it's over 57 minutes long. That's longer than a lot of full albums, even some of their own early stuff. How did they manage that, given, what an EP usually is?
Well, it's interesting because that EP label, that was very much a strategic choice. It was something they agreed on with the record label, specifically calling it a special edition. Critically, not a new studio album. And that distinction, it actually gave them a ton of creative freedom.
Right, freedom without the pressure of it being the next big album.
Exactly, they could release something really unique.
And that freedom must have felt pretty good, especially since it was like a new chapter for them. How crucial was the timing with Derek Sherinian just joining on keyboards?
Oh, absolutely critical. Yeah, this EP was really a fresh start. It was their first recording after Kevin Moore, the original keyboardist, left. So Sherinian debuting here was huge. He even helped reconstruct the intro to the title track.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was a great way to show how quickly he'd integrated, It solidified the band's renewed spirit despite that massive lineup change.
And the title track itself, A Change of Seasons, that has quite a backstory too, doesn't it? It wasn't just written for this EP.
Not at all. It's got an incredible journey. It was actually conceived way back 1992 as a 20-minute suite for images and words.
Wow, for images and words.
Yeah. There was even some talk apparently of making Images and Words a double album just to fit it in.
Seriously? A double album then?
Yeah, but obviously it got shelved for various reasons. It did get played live though in '93. You can actually find that on an official bootleg recording.
Right, one of those official fan club things.
Exactly. But it wasn't formally recorded in a studio until 1995 with Sherinian. They did the studio recording in May '95, Bear Tracks Studio in New York.
So, Thinking about that whole journey, conceived, shelved, lineup change, finally recorded. What does that tell us about Dream Theater, their dedication, maybe?
Oh, it speaks volumes. It shows this almost stubborn commitment to their big artistic ideas. I mean, most bands would probably just abandon a 20-minute piece after it sits for years and they change members.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But for Dream Theater, getting this thing finished, bringing this, cherished project to life despite everything, it became sort of a symbol of their refusal to compromise.
Okay, so we've set the stage for how it was made. Let's really get into the heart of it. That massive 23-minute, 7-part title track, A Change of Seasons.
Right, and this suite, it's incredibly profound, really. It's basically a musical journey through the seasons of life, birth, life, death, rebirth, that whole cycle. And the lyrics, penned by Mike Portnoy, the drummer, they come from a really deep personal place. His mother died suddenly in 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's even this little detail, November 16th, the date she died, printed on a calendar on the album's back cover. Super subtle but poignant. But even with that intense personal origin, the song just connects on a universal level. Everyone relates to those themes.
And the structure, moving through 7 distinct parts.
Yeah.
It really lets the music and the story build and change. How does it kick off?
It starts with part 1, The Crimson Sunrise. It's instrumental, picture, really peaceful dawn. That's the vibe. Musically, you get these gentle acoustic guitar notes kind of cascading. A cool piano melody comes in, and then suddenly, boom, the full band surges in with power. It really paints this picture of childhood's dawn, hope, excitement, anticipation, all instrumental.
Okay, so from that sunrise, it flows into part 2, Innocence. Portraying youth, but maybe hinting that things aren't always simple.
Exactly, a seamless transition. Musically, you hear this fast-flowing keyboard melody, 16th notes technically, guitar and bass layer chords underneath. Then James LaBrie's vocals come in, really quietly at first over gentle acoustics. It sounds like pure sun-drenched happiness. But then, pretty quickly, distorted guitars muscle in, introducing those, rougher edges of reality, hinting that innocence doesn't last.
That feels like a natural lead-in to part 3, Carpe Diem. Seize the day. That sounds like a pretty urgent message here.
It is. The music shifts back to quiet acoustic guitar, really reflective. But the key thing here is the movie samples they weave in. You hear Robin Williams from Dead Poets Society, that famous line, Carpe Diem, seize the day, boys, make your lives extraordinary.
Classic.
Totally. And there's also a recitation of Robert Herrick's old poem, Gather Ye Rosebuds While Ye May, about youth being brief. Plus, reportedly a quote from the movie Table for Five, Jon Voight's character telling his kids their mom died.
Oh, wow, that's direct, connecting back to Portnoy's experience.
Exactly, it's heart-wrenching. So this whole cherish the present message, it really foreshadows the difficulty to come. The music starts building tension again, like fate is closing in.
And that tension just breaks in part 4. The darkest of winters. An abrupt, really harrowing turn. Grief, loss. Also instrumental.
Yeah, the second instrumental section. And it's heavy, super dramatic. This depicts the mother's death. Musically, it's complex. The rhythms keep shifting. People hear it as 34 time, then maybe 98.
Yeah.
It feels unsettled, unpredictable. Guitar, bass, keyboards playing these intricate lines together really tight. And then you get these incredible solos. John Young on bass, Petrucci on guitar, Sharinian on keys, just full of fury, passion.
Like a storm of emotion.
Totally. Loneliness, heartbreak, anger, confusion. It just throws you into that darkness.
But darkness doesn't last forever. Part V, Another World, seems to signal a shift. Maybe away from just despair towards thinking, resolving.
Precisely. The tempo, the mood, everything slows right down. You get acoustic guitar again, these arpeggios, and a really solemn pipe organ sound. It feels like quiet reflection, maybe even prayer, another world itself. It kind of hints at an afterlife, or maybe just how loss changes your whole perspective, your inner world. The character's wrestling with grief, but then hits a turning point, decides to break free from the sadness, and the music mirrors that resolve. Distorted guitars come back, the full band sound swells up again, moving towards recovery.
Which leads into part 6, The Inevitable Summer. Another instrumental.
Right.
So light after darkness, but maybe acknowledging healing isn't just a straight line.
You got it. Third and final instrumental piece. It starts beautifully, lyrically, like sunshine finally breaking through, but then it shifts again, back to heavy, intense riffs. It's like acknowledging the past struggles are still there, the weight is still felt. And this section has Derek Sherinian's big keyboard solo. It's just technically brilliant, blindingly fast, really exciting. Shows off his chops.
A real showcase for the new guy.
Absolutely. Then after that solo, the music softens again. It brings back some melodies from earlier parts, kind of tying things together before the big finale.
And that finale is part 7, the Crimson Sunset, mirroring the opening sunrise, a moving final chapter.
Yeah, it transitions smoothly right out of that last guitar solo into this final, powerful, full band section. Lyrically, the protagonist talks about gaining wisdom, understanding, having lived through life's seasons. Musically, the intensity kind of eases off a bit, building instead of this really lyrical melodic peak, flowing piano under Labríe's vocals. It's deeply emotional. And the ending is perfect. A big final chord fades out. And then, quietly, that acoustic guitar theme from the very beginning, the Crimson Sunrise, returns.
Oh, bringing it full circle.
Exactly. It just lingers there alone for a moment, then fades into silence, sunrise to sunset, the whole cycle of life, ending with this feeling of release, maybe acceptance.
Wow. It really is just a marvel, the way it holds that tension, the structure. So what does this track mean, big picture, for listeners, for music history?
Well, it's definitely a landmark achievement in, the world of prog metal suites. It influenced so many bands that came after, and it definitely set a precedent for Dream Theater's own later epics, Metropolis Peach Chews, 6 Degrees, Octavarium. It really represents a creative peak for them, so personal, yet it hits these universal chords. Shows what music can do in exploring being human.
It's incredible how much story and feeling one track can hold. But like I said, this EP has that whole other personality too, right? Something completely different, way more fun.
Oh, absolutely. That's the uncovered side. Live covers. They were recorded January 31st, 1995 at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London. It was a special show just for their fan club. The band actually called it the Uncovered Show. And the whole point was just to kick back and honor their musical roots, their influences.
So it wasn't just about showing off how technically brilliant they are, playing other people's complex stuff.
Not primarily, no. I mean, they are brilliant and it shows. But it feels much more like a heartfelt tribute. You can hear the love and respect they have for this music. It really shows their, human side, their sense of humor, the sheer breadth of music they love. It's not just prog.
And the choices are amazing. They do Elton John's Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah, with all the dramatic flair you'd expect from Dream Theater.
Right. And Deep Purple's Perfect Strangers. Labrie really goes for it, sounding a lot like Ian Gillan.
He does. And then there's that Led Zeppelin medley, moving from the Rover into Achilles' Last Stand.
Whoa! Achilles' Last Stand?
Yeah, ambitious. And then into The Song Remains the Same. Petrucci nailing those Jimmy Page riffs, but still sounding like himself.
That takes serious skill.
And then the big one, the big medley. Just this rapid-fire run through 6 classic rock tunes. Pink Floyd's In the Flesh, Kansas's Carry On Wayward Son, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wait, Bohemian Rhapsody, the whole...
Well, sections of it woven in. Then Journey's Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', Dixie Dregg's Cruise Control, and Genesis's Turn It On Again. Stitching all that together, it's wild. More than just a medley, it's like musical gymnastics.
It's such a stark contrast to the main track, isn't it? That whole uncovered section just sounds like pure joy, pure rock and roll energy.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic balance to the deep, sometimes heavy themes of A Change of Seasons. It's a great reminder that behind all the complex arrangements, there are musicians who just love rock history.
So bringing it all together then, how does this really unique two-faced EP fit into the grand scheme of Dream Theater's career and influence?
Well, it plays this really crucial bridge role, I think. It was their first EP, and importantly, their first official recording with Eric Sherinian. So it really marked a strong new beginning. It was a powerful statement that they were still creatively strong, still unified, even after losing a key member. And it was daring, too, releasing a 23-minute suite as the centerpiece in the mid-90s.
Yeah, grunge and alt-rock were king then.
Exactly. Long, complex prog wasn't exactly mainstream. Doing that was a bold declaration of who they were, cementing their identity.
And it showed off that duality we talked about, the super ambitious prog side and the, fun rock cover side. That probably helped broaden their appeal.
Definitely. It showcased their range.
Yeah.
And internally, it was vital for building chemistry with Sherinian. He stayed until '99. His contributions here, especially that keyboard solo and the reconstructed intro, they're still iconic moments for fans. They really cemented his arrival. So yeah, A Change of Seasons. It's way more than just a collection of songs. It feels like it has the band's soul in it. Blends their past and future, the dark and the light, the technique and the raw feeling. And it clearly still resonates. It offers this really profound reflection on life's changes that people connect with.
What an incredible journey through A Change of Seasons, this deep dive. It really highlights, I think, resilience, deep emotion, incredible musical skill, and just creative bravery, really. It's a powerful reminder that maybe even something devastating like loss can be channeled into something universally beautiful.
Absolutely. And that exploration of life's seasons, it just keeps speaking to people. It feels timeless because those experiences are timeless. It's a perfect example of how art can kind of help us process the changes in our own lives.
So listening to this, what stands out to you? Maybe the real change of seasons isn't just the events that happen to us, but how we learn to understand them, move through them like the band did, turning tragedy into this incredible anthem. We definitely encourage you, go find A Change of Seasons, give it a listen, and experience this whole journey for yourself.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of the wildest, most ambitious releases in rock history, Dream Theater's A Change of Seasons. It's a story that starts with a single song, but unfolds into a tale of tragedy, defiance, and just pure artistic guts. So let me start by asking you this. Why on earth would a major band, at the peak of their game, release what they call an EP that's almost an hour long, but has only one new song on it? It sounds crazy, right? Well, the answer to why they did it is where our story really begins. It's a story about rebirth and incredible artistic courage. To really get this, we've got to go back to the mid-90s, a time when the band itself was going through a massive change of seasons of its own. Okay, so picture this. 1995 was a really chaotic time for them. They just put out this heavy album called Awake, and then, boom, their founding keyboardist, Kevin Moore, just up and leaves. They bring in the amazing Derek Sherminian, but now they kind of have to prove themselves all over again. And they're doing this in a music world that's completely obsessed with grunge. Talk about being at a crossroads. Now, calling this thing an EP was, a bit of a clever move. I mean, 57 minutes? That's longer than their first 2 full albums. But basically, they worked out this deal with the record label. By calling it a special edition thing instead of an official album, it gave them the total freedom to do something really unconventional. And what was at the heart of this unconventional plan? One single song. A massive 23-minute epic that had been sitting on a shelf, just waiting for years. And this epic wasn't just about musical complexity. It came from a deeply personal human place. The drummer, Mike Portnoy, wrote the lyrics about the sudden, tragic death of his mother when he was just a kid. So it's a huge story about life and loss, but it's grounded in a tragedy that's very, very real. And here's the kicker. This wasn't even a new song. They'd actually written it way back in 1992 for their big breakout album, Images and Words. But at the time, the label just thought it was way too long, too ambitious. It's kind of poetic, right? It took the band going through its own change of seasons with a new lineup to finally bring this masterpiece to life. So you might be wondering, what actually happens in a 23-minute song? Well, think of it like a story, a whole life unfolding across 7 distinct parts. The song gives you a roadmap right from the start. It kicks off with the crimson sunrise of birth, moves through innocence and tragedy, and ultimately finds its way to the wisdom of the crimson sunset. Each one of these movements feels completely different, musically and emotionally. What's so brilliant is the song's symmetry. It's a perfect circle. It opens with this beautiful, hopeful acoustic theme. That's the crimson sunrise. Then, at the very end, in the crimson sunset, that exact same theme comes back, only this time it has lyrics reflecting on the whole journey. It's just genius songwriting. And believe me, this song is an emotional roller coaster. It starts all melodic and uplifting, representing youth and hope. But when it hits the darkest of winters, the music just explodes into this heavy, chaotic instrumental section that perfectly captures that feeling of loss. From there, it slowly rebuilds into this powerful, victorious climax. It's a journey. And there's this really fascinating choice they make. Right before the story takes its dark turn, they drop in this iconic movie quote from Dead Poets Society. It's this perfect moment of foreshadowing, a little reminder to seize the day because you never know what's coming. But that 23-minute epic, that's only half the story. The rest of this EP is a complete 180. We go from something deeply serious and introspective to a straight-up joyous party. Yeah, the other 34 minutes come from a special, intimate show they did for their fan club at the legendary Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London. They called it the Uncovered Show, and the whole idea was just for them to have fun and pay tribute to the bands that made them who they are. And they went all out. The highlight was this absolutely wild mashup of songs that they called the Big Medley. I mean, just look at this list. They weave together Pink Floyd, Kansas, Queen, Journey, Genesis, all into one massive, thrilling performance. It's such a cool glimpse into their record collections. And what's so great about it is that it's not about showing off. I mean, sure, the musicianship is incredible, but the feeling is pure joy. It was just the band sharing their passion and having a great time with the fans who really, truly got them. So, when you put it all together, the deeply personal epic and the super fun live covers, what's the lasting impact of this strange and wonderful EP? Well, you have to remember what was happening in music at the time. Everything was about 3-minute stripped-down grunge rock. For a band to come out with a 23-minute, super complex prog metal song, it was an act of pure defiance. It was them planting their flag and saying, "This is who we are, take it or leave it." 23 minutes and 9 seconds. Think about that. That's longer than some entire albums from other bands. This single track was a bold statement that long, ambitious songwriting was definitely not dead. And that's really its legacy. A Change of Seasons became a massive turning point. It basically gave other bands the green light to write their own epics. And it proved to Dream Theater themselves that they could go even bigger, paving the way for some of their other masterpieces down the road. In the end, the reason the song and the whole EP works so well is because it taps into a universal idea, the seasons of our own lives. The joy, the loss, the struggle, and the wisdom we gain along the way. Which leaves us with one last question to think about. If you were to write a song about your life seasons, what would it sound like?